Now the town where locals say pigeons would be more reliable than telcos. For decades they've been battling dodgy phone reception and they've had enough.
Our reception's off the cliff.
Meet the locals of Coalcliff who say their picturesque village has its dangers and they need reception now.
There's no mobile reception, it's just a nightmare. You know, we'd almost need pigeons again to get in touch with people.
You go to Africa, there's coverage everywhere. You go to the Amazon, there's coverage everywhere.
Coalcliff has lost a lot of things over the cliff, and certainly mobile reception is the big one.
Philip Comans and Sean Linkson have lived here for 2 decades and say when it comes to improvements in mobile reception, time has stood still in the town just an hour south of Sydney.
I mean, honestly, when we first came down here as a holiday home, I thought being off the grid is wonderful. But you soon realise you can't work like that. Oh, it's hopeless. There's no data.
Desperate to connect to the outside world, the couple says it forked out for a Telstra booster that broke down after 2 years and had to be replaced.
So we've spent $2,400 to have a signal which is bouncing off the cliff line and coming to us, which still drops out.
But there are bigger problems. When Philip and Sean saw an elderly fisherman swept off the rocks and injured once, they couldn't call for help.
We discovered that he'd broken his femur. The top of his leg was just bent at a horrible angle. So he's in a really serious condition. I had my phone, but I couldn't call Philip up here, or anyone, in fact, couldn't even dial 000 to help this guy.
It was made much harder by the fact that we couldn't use mobile phones to communicate. Sean couldn't tell me how bad he was.
What was wrong?
The ambulance officers who came also couldn't correspond with anybody because they couldn't get onto anyone. So it's, and that's just one example. There's been so many.
Around the corner at the start of the Seacliff Bridge is a lifeline sign with a number to call, but you can't.
If you tried to ring the number from there, just outside the front of our house, there's no coverage. So if you were somebody in extreme crisis, that might be the last straw. I mean, it's horrible.
Hat Goodchild says it's not unusual to have to leave his home to make a call.
If we do have to make a call, we go for a walk across the bridge to make a phone call and walk back home. But we shouldn't have to leave our house to make a phone call.
Residents say there are only a handful of ways you can make reliable calls here in Coalcliff, and this is one of them. Yes, that's right, it's not the 90s, and this is a Telstra phone box that this community still desperately needs.
It's more than annoying because you would think at this day and age that something as basic as the phone service would be a gimme.
Bronwyn Balderston says tourists on a day trip get caught out too.
Well, tourists do get lost. I know neighbours up here get people knocking on doors to call in because they don't know where the toilets are or where there's no shops in this little area.
So the whole area has a lot more people coming into the area now than it ever used to, using our beautiful rock pools, using our beaches, and they've got no coverage. Most of us, 80% of us, are with Telstra because that's the only carrier that has any coverage around here. Optus and Vodafone have none, zero.
The telcos say the geography and terrain impacts mobile coverage in the area.
Mobile signals don't go through hills and they don't go over hills.
Telstra spokesperson Chris Taylor says the lack of reception isn't from a lack of trying to install a tower.
We looked for nearly 12 months to try and find a suitable location. We were unable to gain agreement from any landholders, either public or private, and for that reason we've been unable to build a site and we've had to return that particular location under the Mobile Black Spot program.
Can't believe it. In this day and age, it's just absolutely ridiculous.
And you can read statements from the council and the telcos on our website.